Hi, I'm Stephen with AlbertaUrbanGarden.ca. Weeds in the garden are often a chore many gardeners dread, but there's no reason why managing the weeds in your garden has to take a lot of time. Weeds are characterized as plants that you do not intend to grow. They often grow fast, spread quickly, and try to compete with your garden plants that you do want to grow for things like sun, water, and nutrients. In my first few years gardening, I made the mistake of purchasing soil that was subsoil and was filled with weed seeds. I fought for years and finally had to give in, using the soil to fill a low part of my property and start my garden soil again. Now that I have much better soil, it is much easier to keep on top of the weeds. That said, it still requires a little bit of time and effort to keep under control. Today, I thought I'd show you how I manage my weeds organically, and so it doesn't take a lot of my time. It is much easier to spend a few minutes every couple of days pulling weeds as you pass them, than waiting and trying to blitz the whole garden at once. Usually, I find myself pulling weeds that I see while I'm in the garden doing other things. When I do pull weeds, it is important to try to not only get the plant above the soil, but the roots below. This will help prevent the weeds from just growing back. The spring is often the best time of year to get a handle on your weeds. This time of year is when most weed seeds are trying to germinate, and if you get them while they're small, not only are you able to pull them out easier, but they won't have time to make seeds and to spread throughout your garden. What I've noticed is the time I have to spend weeding drops throughout the growing season. And overall, as I've been mulching for years, there's just generally less weeding to do. Unless the weed is flowering, I usually just pull it out and add it to the mulch layer, helping to return the plant to the nutrient cycle. I commonly use fall leaves as the main body of the mulch, adding things like used coffee grounds, comfrey, and eggshells to not only add organic materials, but nutrients, and recycling some of the waste that comes from our kitchen. I avoid using things like dethatched grass or fall leaves that contain seeds, as they both come with weed seeds. Seeds will germinate best when they have good contact with the soil and have sufficient light and moisture to germinate. The mulch helps suppress weeds by preventing them from getting in good contact with the soil. When the seeds do get in good contact, the mulch will shade the soil, helping to keep the seeds dormant until they are no longer viable. When planting my crops, I simply move the mulch aside and plant. As the mulch breaks down, it has the added benefit of feeding nutrients into the soil's nutrient cycle, all the while helping to prevent water evaporation from the soil. Ground cover will also help to suppress weeds over the long run as well. Last week, we spoke about transplanting some of my strawberries into my perimeter orchard. I have found that suckering grass is probably the biggest weed that I've had to deal with over the last few years. Some varieties of grass are able to send suckers long distances in search of new areas to grow. When putting in my garden beds, I put cardboard down in order to suppress the grass, and that worked for a while. Now that the cardboard has likely been completely decayed by worms and other beneficial organisms, the grass is able to sucker back into the beds. The grass is coming from where I left it, in the pathways of my garden. In order to manage this, I finally removed the grass from my walking paths. This is much easier to do prior to the grass growing in the spring, and a sod cutter in your hands are all the tools you'll need to do this job. After I had removed the grass, I placed layers of cardboard down, and on top of that, my flagstones and wood chip mulch. As I have access to more wood chips, I will continue to add to this layer, helping to keep the grass and weeds down. Over time, we should see a drop in the grass suckering into the garden beds, as they have no parent plants to send suckers from. With all these strategies and methods to reduce and remove the weeds from your garden, some of them are in fact edible, and you may not want to get rid of them. Famously, dandelions and arugula can not only be used as leafy greens, but their flowers can be used as a garnish on salads, or, in some cases, even turned into wine. There is a list of other edible weeds in Alberta in the description below. By continuing practices like mulching and managing the weeds when I need to, I should be able to reduce the amount of time that I need to spend weeding my garden, and this is all chemical free. Thank you very much for spending time with me today. I appreciate it very much, and I hope you have a fantastic day.